Hey, this is John Bohlinger with Premier Guitar. We are in Corona, California, and I'm with Pat Campolattano, who is a principal master builder at Jackson, Charvel, and EVH.
Correct, yes.
Pat, hey man, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming, dude. This is great.
I love seeing what you guys are doing here. Now, it's pretty amazing. You're going to take us through the whole process.
Yes.
And you build guitars boot to bonnet, start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we don't do is chop down the tree, and if you gave us a saw, we might do that too, so.
You even build like some of your tools and everything.
Oh, so I'll show you later, but I make my own like tooling fixtures. I make my own 3D models of these instruments. I'll make my own hardware. I'll do the paint job if I have to.
Wow.
You know, whatever it takes, but I like getting in the nitty gritty and doing everything, and it's nice to just be able to kind of spread your creative wings around here too, which is really excellent.
What a dream gig for a builder.
Yeah, I couldn't be better.
To have this whole shop at your disposal.
Yeah.
So right here, it's amazing to think you're starting with this.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the heart of every Jackson neck through guitar. And you know, it's a few pieces that start off as just rough lumber. And this is kind of what it takes to make your typical, well, this is a warrior. So this is kind of the first step. We get the raw lumber from across the street. We have our own wood warehouse, and we'll have our guys. We're currently in the team built section right now. And what will happen is the folks from this crew will go grab the raw lumber, and you're sitting next to, you know, wide belt sander, joiner, planer. We process all the lumber ourselves too. So we're making sure we're picking the best pieces. We're making sure that it's lightweight, that all the grain is going in the right direction. Especially if you order an oil neck, you know, we're trying to match up the head, the grain for the quarter sawn neck to match up with the head because it goes on at an angle.
Sure.
So we're paying attention to a lot of stuff, and you can see behind us, these are all head caps that we let dry for quite a while in a few different processes. And then you can see the heads being glued on. We call this the center blank, right? So we'll chop the angle in the head and we'll glue this on to make our center blank. And these are our wings. But if we have a center blank that's a tighter grain or a little wider grain or something like that, we'll walk up over here and pick the best one.
Wow.
You know, so we want to make sure that it's going to look beautiful on the front, on the back, everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can see.
We walked by your wood, and it looked like that last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, just that huge stack of.
Oh,
so you literally just go in there and say, pick out exactly what you want for the build.
Yeah, so it really depends on what the order is, right? So everything that we make is build to order, unless it's a show build that one of the master builders wants to do, or sometimes the team built custom folks get to do a build as well. And it's kind of dealer's choice at that point. But really, if I get an order, I'm gonna say, okay, it's asking for quarter sawn maple, it's asking for alder wings. A lot of the times, you know, it is the practice to make the wings, the back strip, all from the same piece of lumber. So it all kind of resonates together, and it you know, has a unified sound.
Sure.
I'm not getting one piece from one log and one piece from another log. It's all kind of grouped together. And we have to orient the wings so the grain runs, so you don't break the tip of the horns or anything like that.
Sure.
You know, so that's kind of how it goes. And then at this point, wow, this is a warrior before it's actually, you know, a warrior. Really, the only thing you see is
so big, man.
Yeah, it's a big guitar.
Shocking.
Well, you know, it becomes quite a bit smaller from here.
Yeah.
But you could see from the back, you know, now it's all alder. And the neck is still square. We'll cut the back shape afterwards.
Wow.
And we'll pick out a nice fretboard too. And, you know, Jackson is their original custom shop. So
yeah,
everything is built to order. Whatever you could dream of, we're going to make it.
And it started just down the street, right? Like San Dimas,
in Ontario with Mike Shannon and Grover Jackson and Pat McGarry, who recently retired. You know, those guys have been part of the crew for a very long time. And yeah, it's a really awesome history, you know, designing the Rhodes, designing the soloists, designing Warrior, and everything that goes into Jackson brand is it's really cool to be a part of. And it's an honor to be able to kind of make my own versions of some of these things too, which is like a total blast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, take us. Let's go through the process.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go over to my other bench, and I'll show you kind of where it goes from there.
Okay, Pat, take us through it. What are we doing here?
Okay, so at this point, the center blank has the head attached, and we flushed it up, so it's ready to receive a truss rod slot. It's ready to get its fretboard attached, right? We'll actually attach the fretboard before the wings go on.
Okay.
So what I do is I use the CNC. I made my own tools for some of this based on what some of the team built side guys did. But you'll see I have like a different fixture for each body. I'll machine, you know, you'll see on the other side, I just made the Bello base.
Oh, wow.
So it'll vacuum down. And this is actually recycled wood from the fender side when they do the body spreads. This is alder, and we actually get it cut into like these butcher blocks, and it's really comes in handy for us to make tools or test bodies out of. And I just like using them because it's really easy for me to work with, and
yeah,
you know, gets the job done. So I'll machine my truss rod slot. Like this is one of the Bellos. And you can see I actually sliced the fingerboard off of the neck blank. So it's actually the same piece of wood.
Oh, so you literally cut the neck.
I just saw the fretboard right off, and I'll reattach it.
So it's the same. It's the same
It's
chunk
the
of
same.
wood.
And then when you cut the scoop in the headstock, it'll all match up real nice. And then the seam along the edge of the fretboard is real tight too. It looks real clean.
Wow.
So this one has the graphite carbon rods, and then I do these pins. I do 6 just in case, you know, any one of them breaks down, I got an extra.
Sure.
So, you can see after that part is done, fretboard's glued on, then we'll glue wings on. We can glue a top on if it needs a top, and I'll either machine out of here the shape and the pickup routes and everything like that, or we'll do it on pin router, old-fashioned style. Just depends on how you want to do it.
So you put the wings on before the neck is shaped?
Yes.
That seems like an awkward way to do it, right? Because you got that big body and...
Well, we actually do it both ways. So the traditional Mike Shannon way of doing it, when you do it old school on the pin router, you'll do some of the back shape before you glue the wings on, just so you don't have to carve it all out, right? But if you do it on the CNC, it's a little different. So you'll leave it square, and then you'll make your model, and then you'll have the tool come in real tight and, you know, make your neck shape. So it's just like how you want to play it, you know. Some builds you really can't do it on the CNC, and some, you know, you want to do on the CNC. It's just like splitting hairs, really. What comes out of the machine is only a portion of what needs to be done before it's over. So it's just kind of how you want to dice it. Yeah. So I'll even scoop the back of the head and do all that stuff. A lot of the prep work is still done on a pin router, so it's still pretty old-fashioned.
Well, great. Okay, so what is the next step in our process?
So once, you know, the body is cut, and it might look something like this, right? This is the final perimeter of the body that will cut the back shape on the neck. The rest of it is going to be all by hand.
Really?
Yeah, it's all going to be sanding and binding, and the rest of it's all by hand. So let's go around to my other little workbench, and I'll show you what I've been working on.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so now we're at my sanding bench, really, is what this is. We're in the main section of the Jackson Masterbuilt area. And what I've been working on is the new Bello signature bass. I think you guys just did a rig rundown.
Yeah, we just did an Anthrax rig. If you haven't watched it, please do.
Awesome. So this is what an order looks like, you know?
Now, is this going to him, or is this just out to sales?
So I've already made him 4. I'm making 4 more.
God.
Yeah.
Frank,
That's
how many
awesome.
bases do you need, man?
Oh, one for every tuning. No, he's great, and it's been fun making these, but I'm actually making some extras because last time I made an extra and we sold it at our online dealer event, and that sold, I believe, to Thunder Road Guitars, which
cool.
is very cool. But we're making more. We're going to do like a limited run of 30 of them.
Oh.
So this is, me getting a head start a little bit.
Yeah.
So that neck, I just finished sanding right before we started talking.
God, it feels good, man.
I hope so.
Yeah. Nice size, comfortable. Yeah.
So he sent his original that he had in for us to measure. So I'm like trying to get the right thickness of the headstock, the right thickness at each fret. And
so did he say make it just like this, or he said make it?
No, he said, I really love this bass and I want you to duplicate it as close as you can, but I want it to be master built. So that was up to us to just say, okay, we're going to make it as close as we can. Now, each of us has our own finesse, our own, little secret sauce to the mix.
Right.
So I can't say that I did it, 110% to the note. Like I roll my fret ends a little bit more. I do the hemispherical.
I like.
Yeah. Or, I like to make the edges, a little softer, just because I always think if you're holding it in your hand, it's got to be real comfortable. It should be like a pleasure to, really take a hold of. And you think about an instrument, it's like so personal. It's up close and you stare at it and you oogle at it all day long. And it's got to be something that's like really, comfortable and like a baseball glove kind of thing.
Yeah, it's and this it kind of is just a pleasure to rub it.
So for these, like I machine the nut, the little brass nut. So I just get a big sheet of that, or like the mirror pick guard. This is what it looks like rough. I still have to sand all the edges, buff it out, and then I can peel the protective film off of it.
And Pat, you personally made all this?
I made all of it. I made the inlay blocks. Like this neck, kind of like what I was showing before, how it lines up. I try and get it as close as I can. But I actually made a 3D model of this whole bass too. So like I do the whole soup to nuts thing the best I can.
Man.
I do the frets and, everything. It's just more fun that way.
Yeah, that's labor intensive though.
Yeah, we are very focused on high quality and that personalization.
Yeah.
And, we don't crank out like super huge numbers, but it is all about just being perfect. So I just try and take my time, and hopefully, one great instrument surpasses, 10, good ones.
Sure. Yeah. So even like when you're selecting your wood, are you looking at grain patterns and trying to get it as close to?
Yep.
You're very specific.
Super specific.
In everything.
Right.
Yeah, because these look, I could not tell the difference between these two necks.
Well, they're supposed to all look the same, right?
Yeah.
So I got 4 necks right here, and there's some slight variation, but normally what I'm looking for is very straight vertical grain.
Yeah.
I like it to be as tight as possible. And I'm also looking at the rough lumber to see if it has any movement to it. Of course we dry it out, we do everything, but I'm trying to make sure it's as stable as it is, as it can be, before I start even making the first cut.
Right. Well, there's really an X factor in wood, because you don't, it's all a little different.
Well, yeah, it's not like metals or plastic or anything where it's like very known, okay, metal is going to move 0.01% with a rise in temperature of, 50 degrees or something like that. Whereas wood, it's like one day it's perfectly straight and the next day it's a Pringle.
God,
and it's like you really got to be careful and season the wood properly and just do your best to mitigate all those factors, know how it's going to move, what's going to happen. So that's a big part of it. So with this guy, you could see I try and match up the fretboard and the wood of the back of the neck the best I can. And
well, let's see the next step.
Awesome.
Okay, next stop,
we're in inner sand. So the instrument has been totally sanded and it needs to get its first coats of paint, right? So the biggest thing, actually, come here, Josh. Come on.
Yeah.
This is the man right here. This is Josh.
How's it going?
Josh is our painter, one of our great painters, and actually we've been working on these guitars together.
Oh, cool.
So this is a Warrior that I made. They're getting blood drip finish. The first thing Josh has to do is he has to spray clear coat on it. And Josh saves my butt all the time. If you saw anything on my Instagram, he's painted all of it, and he's the king. So thank you so much, dude.
No problem.
When are we getting back in here to drip some of these?
As soon as possible, let's get to it.
Let's do it. So this has clear, it's sanded. What's gonna happen next is we're gonna shoot black over it, and then I'm gonna come over with the strawberry drizzle, and it's gonna get all the blood drip on the headstock, on the back, on the body, everything. And these will be pretty fun. This one's got some EMG, Floyd Rose, and a real simple control layout, just a toggle and a volume knob, clean mount pickups. And you see we put that electro dag in there to, combat the noise and stuff like that. So thanks again, Josh. Killing it. All right, next stop.
All right. Okay, Pat, so obviously this is where a lot of bodies are drying, and we're right outside of the booth, right?
Yeah, so this is the first section of the drying room. If you go through the next set of grocery store doors into the supermarket sweep, you'll see even more of our neck throughs that just came out of paint. You have to suit up to go in there. So I just pulled out a couple of cool examples of some finishes that we've been doing in the shop. Now, these soloists are pretty cool. These are SL2V for vintage, right? So these actually have the top-mounted Floyd Rose.
Oh, wow.
So the body has a little bit of an angle in it.
Sure.
And these all have all nitro paint jobs.
Oh.
So this is like the old school lacquer. These are real fun. Sometimes we do them in-house. Sometimes we'll have Dan Lawrence, one of our graphic artists, do them. He's local too. Has done a lot of really cool stuff for us. But you could see some cool details. Like yours doesn't have the headstock logo yet, so it has to go back in. We'll scuff it up, we'll put the logo on it, and it gets more and more rounds, right? But yours has an oil neck. That's why it has the bag around the neck, and you can see where the tape line is.
Oh, okay, sure.
As opposed to this one's already been painted, right? And we do the really cool old school gold Jackson logo.
Yeah, that's great.
This is like what you'd see on the old Randy Rhoads model from like early days. So this is like one of the really fun paint jobs that we're known for. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, this is like it's like time traveling back in the 80s. It's so dead on, man.
I mean, life's much better in color, right? It's not worth, like you see cars on the road these days and they're all gray or white or black, You got to have a bright car. You got to have a bright, it just brings a little more cheer to your day. And I can't imagine you put this on the stand in your house and you don't look at it and you're like, I love that thing. Yeah, it's so great, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely light up a stage. That's great. Okay, Pat, so this is final assembly, right?
Yes, we're in the final assembly room. It's the end of the day, so the crew has left the building, but I'm just showing you what they're prepping for tomorrow. A lot of the times, things are done in stages, right? So we have people that are prepping the instrument, meaning they're making sure that the neck fits in the pocket right. So they'll sand the edges of the neck pocket finish to make sure that it fits like perfectly. It should just drop in, but be snug, not have any looseness in there. And we also cut our back plates countersunk. So after the guitar is painted, buffed completely, we'll put a template on here and we'll route it out so it sits flush. And we have like nice black anodized aluminum plates that sit in the back.
I like that you guys take the trouble of sinking that so it's totally flush, but you don't even worry about the cover on that because most of us players don't want a cover on that anyway.
So you're allowed to order the guitar
however you want.
With the back plates, without the back plates, like however you want it. What Nate is doing here, Nate is our team lead here in Final Assembly. He is prepping this guitar. So what he'll do is he'll fit the neck. He might put on some of the parts. He'll clean out finish from the potentiometer holes or the mounting for the bridge posts or whatever it is. Everything should be nice and clean before you put any screw through it. That way it won't lift the paint or, it's a real nice
Sure.
assembly that it all goes together smoothly.
So you have an order sheet that's going to say specifically what every guitar wants. Apparently this person wanted that old school bridge.
Yes.
And these old school knobs that are raised up. And,
yeah, this is the Charvel brass trem with the vintage arm, and then the polished brass knobs. Now these are super shiny and they're fresh, but as soon as this person plays it over time, it's going to start to pit and look that really vintage look. So,
yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, you can see he's got the serialized neck plate ready to go. And what'll happen is this from here will go to one of our, custom shop assembly folks. But also in this room, we have the folks doing the American Soloist series. So they can, really learn the Jackson way, the best they can from our custom shop guys. It's all one big family, really. So,
sure.
We're always trying to, give a helping hand wherever is needed. And, when it comes to production model Jackson or a totally master built, it still has to be an incredible high level of quality. So we try and keep an eye on everything that we can. This is a completed guitar. This is one of the American Series Soloists. Really nice gloss black. It's got all its parts on it. And probably the last thing they'll do before they put this in the case is wipe my greasy fingerprints off of it, after eating lunch. But yeah, I mean, this is really, a nice final product from us that represents like all the hard work and effort that the whole team puts in. So I think it's something that they should be proud of. I am, and I hope you guys love it too. All right, so it's day 2. We're back in the shop. I'm here with Joe Williams, another master builder here in the Jackson Charvel Custom Shop, and we're going to hand off to him. He's got a lot of really cool stuff that he's working on. He's going to walk you through some of the Charvel stuff, some cool templates, artist builds, things that he's been working on. I've learned a lot from this guy. I'm really happy to be his co-worker, and have fun.
All right, so you guys came in at a good time. Today I'm working on trying to finish this guy up. This is a custom Kelly. It's got a custom scale length of 25.1 inches.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty,
Can I feel it?
Kind of an oddball, something unique. A request from a very talented artist, Brandon Ellis.
Huh.
You guys probably seen his last one of the 27 fret Kelly. This is also a 27 fret. As you can see, it's got the angled fingerboard. Kind of see how I mapped everything out. I still do everything by hand, old school, the way Mike Shannon taught me. It's kind of, I guess, my niche is, I was taught by Mike and I got to shadow him for years. I was his apprentice for a very long time.
Well, so how long, when did you start with them?
I started here in 2005.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of started shadowing Mike around 2007.
Wow.
And yeah.
You were just a kid.
Yeah, I was 19.
Oh, God,
So,
that's great.
Yeah, I'm super fortunate to have been able to learn from him and so many other guys like Red Dave, Pablo Santana, Pat McGarry.
Oh.
So I got to really, geek out on how they did things and learn from them the old traditional way. Doing it on a pin router, even with a die grinder. Sometimes if it's something really custom, I'll take the die grinder to shape out a neck that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then hit it on the sander and kind of whittle everything down little by little.
Okay, so something like this, a custom order with this odd scale length and extra frets and all that. Do you have a template for that, or do you have to start from ground zero?
You kind of start with the fingerboard is kind of how I go with it. And that's the one thing I still have to do on the CNC. Back in the day they had gang saw, you could do it on that when it's still a center blank.
Yeah.
But yeah, something oddball like this, you pretty much have to do on the CNC. So the one thing that's done on there is the fingerboard, and then I kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And if you know guitar construction, everything's kind of based off of where the nut and the intonation point goes.
Sure.
And you kind of go off of that. The pattern I used for that, I actually did this when I was doing the Jeff Loomis prototypes. We were talking about giving them extra access.
Oh, okay.
Right here, right? So I did some fiddling with the horn, tried to make it still look like normal Kelly shape. He actually pointed it out. He's like, I've been staring at this shape for years. And I can tell something changed here.
Yeah.
So we went with the traditional standard Kelly shape for his. So when Brandon came in and he was talking about doing 27 frets, I pulled this out. He's like, dude, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out. So this is very close to the standard Kelly template. But yeah, that's where it kind of comes from. So start with fingerboard, make the center blank, and then once you get the wings on, you know, use the template here on the pin router and buzz it out.
So is that usually how it works? It's a collaboration with the person that wants it built. You kind of go step by step, like how about this? How about this? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest advantages, kind of doing it the old school traditional way. You can go step by step and you kind of feel it out in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in real time. Everything's done right in front of you instead of kind of doing it on a computer screen and trying to figure it out that way.
Right.
This is tangible. You can actually feel
Yeah,
it.
you're actually chopping up wood. Yeah.
Yeah. Even when Loomis came in, that's the one thing I held off for Mike. It was like, you know what, Mike Shannon, you are the backshape master. That's the one thing you have to do that. Like,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
right.
and that's what Jeff wanted too. So he got to sit there and stand it right in front of him and say, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more round.
Oh, really?
Take
Like
it down.
they were all like together, and he was cutting it right in real time in front of them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool doing it that way.
Do you ever get in a situation like that where like, yeah, take off a little bit more? Let's go, too much.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You can't really put it back on. So there's no wood stretcher here. That's the
Yeah.
one thing we don't have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to take it little by little, make sure you nail it.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
if you do take it off too much, what do you do?
Well, hopefully it's a painted neck, and I guess we can give it a couple more coats of clear. That's about all you can do.
Yeah, right.
Or just start over, which I don't mind doing. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, wow.
especially some of these guys, I'll do anything you want.
And you will build this entire guitar. I mean, this is pretty much start to finish. This will be your build.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually still talking to him right now. We're talking about where to put the volume. He wants it out of the way, the picking hand. And this is about where I had it last time, is kind of in line with the posts.
Yeah.
And then we decided, instead of doing a toggle switch, we're going to use a push-pull volume, so you can just select between his bridge pickup or the sustainer pickup. It's going to be a sustainer.
Oh, it's a sustainer. Yeah.
So I'm
Angled.
Yeah, angled sustainer. And, you know, he's like, yeah, he mainly just uses a single hum bridge pickup, but we're going to add in the sustainer. You want to be able to use that too when it's passive. Sure. And you can see I was kind of mapping out how to do that. So since we decided just to do a volume, I'm going to trick out the circuit board where we don't need anything else. The circuit board's going to have to go right here. So you flip it over, you can kind of see where I had to kind of customize it. So
Yeah. Oh, wow.
yeah. Had to
No
squeeze
wonder
it in
it's
there.
so light.
Yeah, right? Helps a little bit,
Yeah.
lighten it up, but we'll put a bunch of stuff back in there and balance it back out.
Yeah. Wow, that's an
Yeah.
exciting build. Now, like,
Yeah.
have you already mapped out the finish? You have an idea where that's going?
Yeah, so it's going to be a crackle finish, and I'm actually still waiting on the inlay material.
Kind of like, oh, no, I guess that's not a crack.
Yeah, that's a little different. We can
Yeah.
check that out too.
Yeah.
But it's going to be golden black, and we were going to go with pearl initially, and I looked up some other things I thought might work better, because pearl on maple kind of has a tendency to disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really see it too much, so
Yeah.
I found some really cool stone that we're going to end up using.
Oh,
so
cool.
Just wait on the material, I'll be able to cut that out, place it in there, and then it'll be on its way to paint.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because pearl seems more like an ebony thing, you know?
Yeah, it stands out really, it's
pops.
beautiful in ebony,
Yeah.
but yeah, in maple it kind of has a tendency to kind of disappear, especially when he's going to be on stage. You want to be able to see that stuff.
Sure, yeah. This is
show it off.
Yeah, this isn't about subtlety, it's about disappearing. You want to see
you want everything to scream at you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
so
Yeah,
fun.
he did the so these are the hidden fret tangs. So this is all one piece of plain maple, and even had the challenge of doing a plain maple binding around the headstock,
Yeah.
which was not an easy task, but
God,
it's
yeah.
gonna be pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's something you're not gonna see very often.
No.
Mike Shannon recently did one for another artist. Can't remember exactly who it was. I think maybe somebody from Sabaton. We had to do the whole body and everything, so I had to reach out to him for some tips on how to make that happen.
Wow.
Uh,
What a fun project.
Yeah.
Well, let's go look at some other things you're doing. What do we have here?
Yesterday, I started working on this one. This is going to be a Jackson Falcon. So this is like kind of an old 90s model that was only around for a little bit of time. It was mainly an import. I'm not sure if they ever did one in the custom shop. I wouldn't be surprised if they did the research and design in the US. But yeah, this is going to be something kind of unique. I found this really unique piece of figured walnut, and I had the glue. I had it all glued up for a little while, just the top itself, and I ended up machining it down to spec yesterday. And I found this really nice one-piece cooked ash body. So that's going to be the body, the walnut top, and I did the whole bend on the contour yesterday and got it all glued up. So today I can map it out, and you can see me, buzz it out on the bandsaw, and then finish it up on the pin router.
Great.
See how you do it, truly by hand, old school.
Yeah, let's see this block turn into a guitar.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, you got it, man.
Wow. Joe, you're fearless, man. Good.
I know, right?
Just getting right in there.
I'm lucky I got some good eyes so I can see the pencil marks.
Yeah, I cannot.
Yeah, it's a little tricky there. Yeah, I'd be ashamed to mess it up now.
Yeah, right.
All right, so basically the only reason I'm doing this is when you're doing it on the pin router, you really don't want a whole lot of material there.
Sure.
Yeah, it'll have a tendency to try to grab it from you.
Oh.
So we don't want that. If you're on CNC, you can do a couple mounting, pinholes.
Yeah.
And you can mount them on some dowel pins. You don't have an issue, but we want to get rid of as much excess wood as we can before we go and do it on the pin router.
Wow.
Cool. All right, there we go.
That was so quick. I'm amazed you mapped it out and cut it in minutes.
Yeah, not too bad, right?
No, good.
Got a lot of practice.
It looks like a guitar.
It's almost there. It's a little bit stubby, but
Yeah.
we'll clean off those lines and make it look real hot. All right, so now that we've bandsawed it all out and got the majority of the material off, we'll go ahead and do the final periphery of the body and get it all cleaned up and real nice.
So what's this machine you're using?
This is a pin router. This thing's been around since probably before me.
Really?
Yeah, this is Mike Shannon's pride and joy. It's been around the shop and probably done most of all the rock stars guitars.
Wow.
It's seen a lot of different things. A lot of cool products come off of this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let's see this thing in action.
All right, here we go. So, do this in 2 steps. Right.
Wow.
So, there we go. So I do the control cavity here.
Yeah.
So, be sure. Yep. Gonna see where the pattern's gonna go here.
Okay, so this is the control cavity.
Right. Don't worry, I'm
Wow.
not aiming, I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Come on, buddy. Yeah, there you go. Want to make sure it's got good contact there.
Yeah.
Don't need it slipping off.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing you ripped that body that quickly. It went from being
Yeah.
just a block to a guitar.
Yeah, I mean, like back in the day, they had quite a few of these machines. So if you have it wind up and set up for different operations, it's actually quite quick.
Yeah.
Just, you know, doing it this way is kind of a dying art. It's just,
Sure.
there's not as many people out there that, you know, have experience using something like this because it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
You gotta know
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your hands out of the way. Like I say, we want to keep our digits intact. And yeah, it's one of those things. It takes time.
John, that's great.
So, yeah. So after this, I would do neck pocket, and then I'll map out, you know, my bridge and pickups, and pretty much on your way. Not too much longer. A couple different cutters in the pin router, and then yeah, some sanding.
Sure.
There you go.
Got a guitar.
Yeah, exactly. It's that easy. All right, so you know, you guys know that we do Jackson and Charvel and EVH here. This is kind of what we call the pattern library. So, like you saw me do the perimeter on that body over there on the pin router. This is kind of where all of our different patterns are. Historically, there's obviously a ton of them. This goes all the way
Right.
back to the early '80s. There's a lot of different, you know, one-off or oddball shapes in here.
Oh yeah, I saw like, oh yeah, like this.
Yeah.
7-string, 24 fret.
Yeah,
So
it's
this-
a Roswell,
The
Jackson Roswell tracer.
Oh, right.
So
yeah.
you kind of trace out the neck blank with this after you have the scarf joint on there to give you an idea of where to bandsaw, and you'd have another one that's real clean and tight, and you would do it on the pin router.
So if somebody orders a guitar and they want, I don't know, like they're alluding to guitars from the past,
Yeah.
you go through here, find exactly what they're talking about.
Right. Like this one right here is an early '80s pattern, early '80s dinky pattern, I should
Oh, okay.
say. So a lot of people talk about the dinky. Is it the same as a soloist? What is it? It's smaller. Like at this point in time, the soloist and the dinky are essentially the same body shape.
Huh.
But in the very earliest days, it was different, quite a bit different. It started with Charvel. Like we said, it's 7/8 size of a strat body. So basically how it kind of went about, and maybe one day I'll prove it out. We took a strat, like a Fender strat body, and you did it on the pin router, and you just took off that, whatever it is, 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, and it turned out to be this.
Okay.
But from what we have these days to this, you know, right here, this scoop is a little bit different. The geometry is a little bit different. So if some guy says, I want the legitimate 80s Charvel dinky, you come here, and this would be it right here. So Mike's been saving this all the way since the earliest days. I mean, it might have even been before that. Maybe he copied it and made this one in the early 80s.
Sure.
I think that might have gone all the way back to like 78 or 79.
It's cool though that there's a reference to all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, like the Charvel stuff, like here's a pointy head, and you kind of see where that comes from. So you got
Sure.
that right there. Yeah, it's gonna be a 24 fret neck. This is one of Red Dave's. So yeah, I still do the old fiber head cap there on the 3-piece, so you hide the seam lines. But yeah, you go from here for the scarf joint, and you use this pattern. And this would be like the old traditional way of doing it. And once you got your truss rod, you put your fingerboard on there, and then you know eventually it turns into something like that.
Voila.
There you go. So,
Very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there's an abundance of stuff in here. Everything from your standard nuts, to your Floyd Rose nuts, your 1 5/8 to 2 1/4, 1 5/8 to 2 3/16, 1 3/4 to 2 3/16, the old school pre-production neck profiles. It's all in there.
Yeah.
So Yeah, we should probably put like a firewall around it just in case anything ever happens. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
seriously.
Gotta make sure nothing ever happens to this stuff.
Yeah, that is.
It's history.
That really is.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. A lot of people trip out of this, like, what? You got, the double neck patterns and things. This would have been a Charvel,
Wow.
double neck. Pretty cool stuff in here.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, if you want something unique, just go in there and start flipping things through and like, this and that, how about that? And that'll be something unique.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, where are we now?
Here we are at the Charvel, Jackson, and EVH team-built custom area. So this is where you're going to find all the high-end signature models, production models, and even the custom-built, team custom-built stuff.
Sure. Kind of the same equivalent, just right over there with Fender.
Yeah.
team.
So we all kind of stick together. We'll help each other out in some areas, depending on what it is. We even have the American Series soloist being built over here on the far end.
Oh, cool.
So those guys have questions on anything, we're right here, and we got all kind of like work together.
How many luthiers are working in this area on a normal day?
There's at least 10 or 12 of our team built guys
Yeah.
that are here. A lot of them have been here for a long time, and they're really good at what they do.
Well,
So
yeah, show us some things that you're doing around here.
yeah, just take a couple things out real quick. As far as Charvel goes, these guys are finishing up a couple of these. We got the Guthrie Govan model. That's the cooked ash.
Oh, wow, that's a light body, right?
Yeah. And it's got a big sound for it too.
Yeah.
Just like that.
So what about sourcing wood? I mean, it all comes out of that huge warehouse, right? The wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get stuff in from different vendors. A lot of times on these things, it's nice to have them already glued up as a spread.
Yeah.
So our vendor will make sure that the grains match before they glue up the spread. You can see it matches really nicely. So a lot of times what we have to do, we'll put it on the CNC and we'll check all the tolerances and everything with calipers, make sure everything's right. They pull it off. There's still a lot of handwork to be done.
Sure.
As you see, this one's all natural, so there's no hiding anything.
Right.
It's got to be sanded real good. So our guys have a lot of experience, and it gets sanded all the way down by 400
Wow.
before it moves on. So
Yeah.
this one's probably halfway there.
Got
Still
it.
needs some work.
Feels great.
But, yeah, really time consuming, and got to have experience to make sure you get it right. These guys are good about that. This one's kind of a little more raw. It's cool. This one looks like it just came off the machine.
Yeah.
The DK24. Those have been a real big hit along with the Guthries.
Right.
Those are some of our highest volume production guitars that we've got. That's just kind of what we're working on right now. This has got the Godo bridge on it, non-locking. It's got the locking posts, but it's got a really standard nut on it, so you don't have to do the double locking thing, which is cool for those guys that get frustrated with Floyd Rose bridges and things.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of these, and they're also working on quite a bit of some EVH Wolfgangs.
Yeah.
So this one's got the multi-ply binding, the cream and black binding on it, which that takes a lot of skill,
Oh,
everything
right.
to get right too. You can see it's real tight, no gaps on anything, looks real clean and nice.
Yeah.
It's got the 3/4 inch maple cap on it, arch top, basswood body. And these, you got to process them pretty slow just to keep everything cupping, because this big maple top on here and the basswood back, if anything's going to move or flex, the maple's going to win.
Sure.
So it's time consuming and a lot of hands-on work. But
Okay, now we're with Master Builder Red Dave.
how you doing, man?
Great to be here, man.
Glad to have you guys here.
So, how long have you been here? And by here, I mean the whole company.
I've worked for Fender for a little over 33 years.
Wow.
I've been a part of Jackson Charvel since 2006, so that's 16 years.
Wow.
So, and started out working here a week out of high school, and started out as a summer job, and it's been one cool summer.
That's great. So, what are you doing today? What's on your bench today?
Today I'm working on a Charvel San Dimas, an oil body. This butte is going to go to the Music Zoo. It's going to get an oil finish, and it gets this beautiful bird's eye neck.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that's great.
pretty cool.
That's great. So, Music Zoo, did they give you the specific order of everything they wanted, and you're building it to order?
Yeah, we build to their order, everything that they want, anything that they want. You know.
So do you go out to the warehouse and just find the chunk of wood that you like? Huh.
Yeah, we've got a big warehouse across the street that has all fancy woods and stuff like that we can hand pick from.
Yeah.
And when I started that, I went over and grabbed a 8-foot board and chopped it down, glued it up, and then ran it on the CNC, and now I'm whittling it away by hand.
Great. Yeah. So pretty soon the neck will meet the body.
Yeah.
Parts will go in, and it'll go to Music Zoo.
Yeah. Within probably 2 weeks, it'll be in their hands. It'll be in Tommy's hands.
Wow. Okay, so Red Dave, after 30 years, what's your favorite wood to work with?
Probably koa.
Really?
I just love koa. I love the smell of it. I love working with it. I love the finished product. And it's just such a wonderful wood to work with.
Huh.
Yeah.
That surprised me. I was thinking it was going to be ash or something like that.
No, I despise ash. Ash is hard to sand.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
It's got too many hard and soft spots, and you know, and ash looks so similar to every piece of ash. Where
Right.
koa is unique. Almost every piece of koa is different.
Huh.
So there's a lot of that.
Sounds fishy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah, that's
So-
great.
And my wife's Hawaiian too, so
Oh, well, there you
Little
go.
bias.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So when you're ordering a guitar from this guy, go with the koa.